We're this group of 4 folks who are working between all of the different Best Friends Lifesaving Centers. And this site is mostly about this adorable, super happy, toothless dog with this big, happy smile with his people, which is all about what this is about, is connecting people to animals ultimately. So let's jump in. So most of y'all probably know a little bit about Best Friends Animal Society, but I wanted to just make sure that everybody is on the same page about who we are. So we were founded in 1984 by about 25 friends here in Kanab, Utah. And we are currently the largest organization that is dedicated to ending the killing of dogs and cats in shelters in all 50 states by the year 2025. And we do that both through our direct life-saving work, which our team works on, but we also have almost 3,300 network partners working across the nation. And so I just want to plug that a little bit. If your organization is not currently a network partner with Best Friends, we would love to connect you to that. So feel free to reach out to us and we'll get you to the right team. And we work together with organizations, communities, and individuals to achieve that goal of ending the killing of dogs and cats in shelters in all 50 states by the year 2025. And you can see a little image on the right is a view from our sanctuary in Kanab, which is a super special place that I recommend anybody visits who loves animals and wants to spend some time in a place that's just very peaceful. All right, so getting closer into what our team does. Our team works with all of our different life-saving centers. So we have physical centers in Salt Lake City, Los Angeles, New York City, Atlanta, Houston, Northwest Arkansas, and then of course our sanctuary in Kanab in Southern Utah. And more recently, we've also started some satellite foster programs in 3 targeted areas that have a large life-saving gap. So Polk County, Florida, Catawba County, North Carolina, and Antietam, Pennsylvania. And so these are new from 2021. These are entirely foster-based programs where our staff collaborate with the shelter in order to place animals that are in need of a foster home into the care of a Best Friends foster caregiver with support from that shelter. And so these are managed entirely remotely in collaboration with those shelters and with our local volunteers in different communities, just to expand that reach. So we're not just relying on physical, facilities in order to do that life-saving work, with the goal being that these shelters would be able to take the foster programs back once they've been established and built up a little bit. So those shelters could then take over those foster programs and continue to run them long after Best Friends, removes our direct staff and support from those programs, just to help them get a good start on that. And in our life-saving centers as well, we are very foster focused. So for instance, in some of our centers, like the sanctuary in Los Angeles, we have a larger facility where a lot of animals are housed on site. But for instance, in Salt Lake City, in New York, in Houston, in Northwest Arkansas, primarily our animals are housed in foster. And so we do have small facilities in those locations, but we're very dependent upon our foster homes and foster families in order to be able to pull animals into these programs. Okay, next slide. And so, as Christine kind of introduced when she was talking about her role, we have really been focused on ways to get people to be able to engage with their community from home. So lots of folks, they are not able to travel as much. They're not able to go to a physical facility. And COVID has certainly increased that. But for instance, Best Friends, we've got supporters all around the country, and a lot of them don't live anywhere near one of our centers, but they still really want to help. And even some of our folks who maybe live in Los Angeles, but don't want to drive an hour and a half across town in order to be at a physical facility, can still engage with us. They can still directly impact this life-saving work all from home. And so a little over a year ago, a team that included Carrie started working on ways that we could implement virtual volunteering to specifically support our life-saving efforts. And specifically, we targeted it to foster programming, knowing that that expansion of foster is really critical to doing our life-saving work. That the more foster homes that we have, the better supported our foster homes are, the more animals that we're going to be able to save. So we really started looking at how can people help from home? How can we communicate with those folks effectively? And how can we really kind of get ourselves out there and reach more people virtually through technology? So Christine, I will now toss it over to you to talk a little bit more about how we did that.
And so to Jess's note, the creators of this program really nailed down what areas can these volunteers help with. Let's focus on some things that they can assist with. So what we really seem to distill out of that is three main categories of virtual volunteerism: foster mentors, adoption support, and data entry. So foster mentors are those people who are foster knowledgeable, possibly experts, but basically just people who are confident, who want to share the fostering message, the fostering support. Because as I'm sure all know, retention is one of the toughest things with foster programs. You can onboard and recruit all day, but then it's getting those people to stick around, because it's tough. Fostering is tough. We all know that, each little animal takes a piece of your heart with you, and it's hard to sometimes keep going. So foster mentors are that hand holding and support just over the phone. So our foster mentors tend to be connected with the foster caregivers at the time of pickup, and the foster mentors do those check-ins. Hey, how are you doing? Hey, how's your kitten? Hey, I noticed in the computer they're due for FERCP. So it's just really nice to have that support person to check in. Sometimes the foster mentors don't hear back from the foster caregivers, but I think it's still nice that the caregivers know there is that person rooting for them, that there is that support just in case that day does come when the cat has diarrhea. What do I do? For adoption support, we're finding volunteers really like to help. Like I said, the virtual impact directly to the care centers. This is a thing that we're really hearing. The volunteers like to help process the adoption paperwork virtually. They get to that moment of, it's like they're virtually touching fur, if that makes sense. Like I know a lot of our volunteers, they want to be that hands-on, they want to walk the dogs, they want to kiss the kitties and cuddle the puppies. So finding a way to kind of virtually get that hands-on and have that direct link to an individual animal, it's very helpful. And it really gets the volunteers excited to continue to volunteering virtually from their computers. Data entry is our most popular role. The record management volunteers are constantly chomping at the bit to tackle those 1,000-line spreadsheets that we all groan over. Like, you have those spreadsheets that are just like lurking in the background that are on your to-do list that you're like, I really don't want to, but you have to. But the volunteers love it. Like, it's another thing. It's another like almost tangible impact the volunteers know they're making, because they're able to check off those, they cross out each line that they've accomplished. They've uploaded, maybe it's a transport, maybe it's importing medical data, maybe it's whatever. Like the data entry portion, it's so simple but so impactful that helps the staff get more time to do the things they need to do on the ground. And the way that we've organized the volunteers and their taskings is we use Trello boards. Most of the roles, aside from foster mentors, because it's more of a sporadic as needed service, each center has the instructions to create Trello cards for the tasking they need done. So they're basically creating job descriptions, more or less, SOPs. If they don't have it, our team helps develop them. And then they put it out there on the Trello boards. And that's where the volunteers can all communicate with each other as well. Of, hey, Susan, I was able to update line A through line Z. You can pick up from here. So that way there's a constant communication between the volunteers as far as where tasking is getting left off. And also the staff who created those tasks, they know what the process is looking like. They know where the, where we're at in maybe the upload or the download or wherever it might be, the updating. Adoption, yeah, these ones, I love these cat pictures. I'm sorry, I got distracted by Rocket. His eyes are just like, we have some animals who have been with us for quite a long stay. Their length of stay has been months, years, which is great. We're totally happy with that. But at the same time, we want them to get adopted. So that is a task that we have some of our adoption ambassadors working on, is maybe adding a little razzle dazzle, refreshing their biographies we have posted on the website, doing a little extra networking, sharing them to other like Facebook groups or Nextdoor or wherever it might be, getting these animals to the eyes of other groups, other communities we might not have gotten them in front of. But yeah, Trello is an amazing tool. If you're not using it, you can get it. There is a free version of it that's helpful. You can upgrade it to add what's that called, Zapier into it. You can get integrations. You can get super fancy, but really also it's really good for Jeopardy. That's another topic we can do, but it's a really good yeah, Kelly, I saw your face. I made a template. I can show you. It's okay, sorry. Virtual volunteerism, it's important you engage your volunteers, right? And so finding ways to have that community have fun. So we used a Trello board to make a Jeopardy board for our Christmas holiday gathering. And it was super fun because it was touching back to the tools we use on the daily, but in a totally just fun party method. but yeah, really fun. And I do see a couple chats coming in. Yeah, it's okay. I can totally get that template. It was super easy, super fun. So, and Carrie, I'm gonna click open one of your cards. So as you can see, we have our board organized by currently being worked on, ongoing tasks, active tasks. The volunteers are instructed and trained to move cards around from column to column as they are being worked on, to ensure everybody has the communication. Because there's almost 100 volunteers in this program, so we need to make sure the communication is fluid and constant, so that way whoever comes in for the next shift knows exactly where to pick up. So in ongoing tasks, I'm going to go ahead and click on this Houston one, and we have the point of contact is Carrie. I think is that your former? We need to update that card. So point of contact, any notes we need to know about the task, and description of the task, as well as attachments. Sometimes the attachments are SOPs. Sometimes the attachments are an Excel spreadsheet that the volunteers will be working on. Other attachments I would recommend would be, let's see, if it's your first time doing a post or doing a task, maybe you record a sample of here's how you complete the task and upload it. Trello can accommodate a lot of different kinds of attachments, so keep that in mind. And we also use on this card, if I can scroll down properly, checklists to make sure, things are taken care of. And you can see down here at the bottom, volunteers communicating, hey, here's what I did, and they can keep track with each other where we're at with the progress of the task. And okay, I'll toggle over. Minor birthdays is one we do as our system, our volunteer management system, Digital Cheetah, does not automatically change someone from a minor to an adult. So that is a recurring task we have the report get populated, volunteers go in and adjust those who need adjustments. So lots of notes on this card. The volunteers love the notes. We will recommend, if you do utilize a Trello board, make sure you have oodles of instructions. That is one of the biggest, our volunteers don't complain much. I'll just preface that, but when they do give us notes of feedback, it would be that there weren't enough instructions. So, okay, noted. So that is something I will say, front load it with lots of instructions. Make sure your goals are clear in what you would like the volunteers to be working on, because the more information you can front load with, the less you're going to be receiving from them later of, hey, how do I do this? I wasn't so sure. So that's something just to keep in mind. But yeah, as you see, Jess is the point of contact for this one, which is probably, Jess is like a detail whiz. So love having her on this team for many reasons, but one of them especially is her SOP skills and just ability to lay everything out in such a easily understandable way that you can just pick it up and run with it. So as you can see, we use OneDrive a lot, and our volunteers do also receive access to our OneDrive systems. They get an organization email, they get access to our OneDrive files, so that way it's easy to share information. So then we can allow for them to get access to what they need to complete the tasking. And yeah, you can see, ta-da, there's some work to do. Jeanette's gonna get work. Oh, Jeanette is working right now, 25 minutes ago. So I would bet you if we came back in an hour, that would be checked off. As you can see, our volunteer Jeanette checked in, and she's working on this task right now. But yeah, I think, and then we're also using Trello as another method of news sharing. And because we do require our volunteers to check in for their shift, they are shift-based, except for the foster mentors, it's sporadic service, but otherwise they are shift-based and they sign up for a shift on Digital Cheetah. Then they are expected to come onto our team's channel and check in, say, hi, good morning, I'm here. And one of our team always responds, because that is very important to us. And then they come over to Trello to find their task. We recognize, though, that sometimes Teams channels can get a little bit loud. So we do post a lot of notices, a lot of information in the Teams channels, but also we'll put it onto a Trello board sometimes, like this kitten hotline recruitment. We want to get volunteers who are happy to talk on the phone. So put it there to make sure that it's lots of, like the same thing like for when we're discussing how do you get the attention of foster caregivers, and we recommend texting in addition to email. So having that variety of how you're going to engage, how you're going to gather the attention of people